Here is a 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander Limited in midnight black metallic over black leather. The all-new Highlander. The limited trim will give you pretty much everything the Platinum gives you except for a few options. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over the all-new variant with some comparison and pros and cons. In the front, you get LED headlights and daytime runnings, which the XLE will not get the daytime runnings nor the fog lights. But because we're in the Limited, we not only get fog lights, we get them LED. All trims are 8 inches of clearance. There's no TRD option to change the suspension, which will be a standard McPherson strut front suspension and a multi-link rear suspension. Both the front and the rear will have the coil springs and anti-roll bars. The front grille is going to be enlarged with the chrome bar that's surrounding the top trim going underneath the headlamp assembly, and the lower gets the satin aluminum with front and rear parking sensors, and we have the optional 360-degree bird's eye view camera. Going against the Kia Telluride, the X-Line Pro will increase clearance to 8.4 inches, so that will be the best in class. This is going to have the same clearance as the new CX-90, and it's going to be a little bit better than the refreshed Honda Pilot. Because this is the limited trim, we're getting 20-inch multi-spoke wheels. The Platinum will give you a two-tone, and the XLE will give you an 18-inch that looks like a rent-a-car. Underneath the hood, we have a 4-cylinder D4S turbocharged with 265 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque paired to a 8-speed automatic transmission. Go to the hybrid and it's a 6-speed automatic transmission, but you will increase torque to 400 pound-feet, which is pretty crazy. Unfortunately, towing is set at 5,000 pounds. It doesn't matter the trim that you go, but with Kia, they increased that to 5,500 pounds when you go to the Pro X. 20 mpgs for the city, 26 mpgs for the highway. The lower skirt is not going to be as athletic, but again, there's no TRD spec for this vehicle. So I kind of like what they do. A gloss black would have been more appreciated. Underneath the window trim gets the chrome, and then you'll get the matte black that's going to surround it. LED turn signals on the power folding side view mirrors, which you're not going to get that on the XLE. The limited trim also gives you the light bar on the lower roof spoiler. It's LED. LED tail lights with a length that's over 201 inches. With that being said, this is the larger one comparing to all of the rivals, and yet it's not going to be the best in cargo, but I like that we have the script of the Grand Highlander across because it stresses that this is over an inch wider than the standard. So everything about it is just a little bit more big, and they do that for more cargo and leg space for the third row. Kick to open will be on the Platinum. Power liftgate going into 20.6 cubic feet of storage. The Limited, you can adjust the height, and because we have the upgraded JBL sound system, you'll also have it in the rear. Underneath the floor, you have a little bit of storage and for the privacy cover, and you have a spare tire. Split fold the third row at a 40-60 split. That's going to increase cargo to 57.9 cubic feet. Fold down those captain seats, and that will increase cargo to 97.5 cubic feet. The captain seats are optional on all trims. The Toyota metal skid plates for the rear, and they illuminate. That will not be on the XLE. This is the turbocharged 4-cylinder. We need to go inside, start it up, so you can hear that exhaust note. Standard 10-way power seat driver. The limited trim gets leather, heated, ventilated front seats, 8-way power seat adjustment for the passenger with memory for the driver. Headroom for the Grand Highlander is going to be basically the same as the standard Highlander, and the same thing with the leg space, except it's going to be more wide because this is a wider vehicle. The dashboard starts off with storage on the passenger side with a USB and a storage nook, not a full pass-through, and it's a more two-tier design that rounds off into the enlarged 12.3 multimedia infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio, and we have the optional 360-degree reverse camera with full trajectory. You can also change different camera layouts. And you can also click the view button right here, and this will have that bird's eye view that you can pause it. You can expand it the way you like to make it a little bit easier to see all around you. JBL sound system comes into play. It's 11 speakers. This is an option with a tri-climate control setting. The air vents in the center and on the side will all have the satin aluminum, working into 2 USB ports, standard QI wireless charger, and an area for another large phone, and a large area for the key fob for the new Grand Highlander. Total of 13 cup and bottle holders throughout the interior. Leather going to be around the shifter. We have the multi-terrain, which will give you different driving modes. Open up in here, and it's a deep storage pocket with a 12 volts. You also have a little tray here that you can put to slide in and out. Otherwise, it's going to be more sporty. There's no pass-through. Auto-dimming rear view mirror. The digital rear view mirror is only on the limited trim. Optional pano moonroof, leather wrap, 3-spoke steering wheel. It's heated, multi-function with adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, 12.3 digital gauge cluster that can be configurable and has an array of information for the driver. When you change the modes, you'll see that it gives you a little illustration of what the modes are. The door panels and the dash configuring together with that wood inlays. It's going to be more soft to touch where it needs to be. It's going to be everyday up top, one touch up and down for all the windows, and a storage pocket that you can fit a beverage. For the second row, headroom is not an issue, nor is leg space. Storage behind both of the front seats, USB ports, 12 volt, if I can open it up, 12 volt. Third climate control, heated rear seats, ventilated, will only be on the limited trim. The center has an area that you could put some cups and some phones. This is also removable, so you could have it just as a pass-through. And these are captain seats, so this will adjust, as well as the seat, in which it'll be a little bit tight for people in the back to sit. The door panel gets the manual sunshades. It will be stripped of the wood interior look. It's going to be soft to touch with storage on the top and on the bottom. Entering to the third row, pull this, slide it forward. Now we walk right inside. Because it's extended than the standard Highlander, you're getting all that extra leg space back here. Headroom is going to be okay if you're sitting upwards, but these seats recline. So I would do so because I'm tall. That way I got optimal headroom. Both sides will get a USB, 3 cup holders, large window, air vents in the ceiling, and leg space is not going to be an issue, although feet space will be shared because of the way the rails are. Sliding over into the center is going to be a little bit more cramped, especially if the seat is all the way back, and reclining and headroom yet again will be a little tight unless you recline the seats. 4-cylinder turbocharged. She's going to make some noise. The major difference really in these vehicles is if you go to the hybrid, you're getting 97 horsepower more on the max and 90 pound-feet of torque more. But you're getting the same towing, so it really doesn't matter unless you need that extra power. And you're going to hear the engine filter in because, I mean, let's face it, it's a 4-cylinder. Maneuverability is good. It does feel like it has the motivation to get you to point A to point B. You will be hitting around 2.5 to 3 RPMs pretty much everywhere you go, and that's going to take me to some pros and cons. Starting off with the pros, when you get to the limited trim, hate to say it, but it is truly a sweet spot because nowadays they are basically giving you options when you go up to the tier level or the trim level. In the sense of the limited, you're getting pretty much everything the platinum gets, excluding maybe 4 or 5 items, which is not a huge difference for the price point, considering you're not getting any increase in ground clearance, in the suspension, or interior space. It's all going to be the same. So you will get a heads-up display. You'll get a digital rear view mirror. You'll get kick to open for the tailgate. You're going to get ventilated rear seats. But again, when you're thinking of an increased price, I would go with the limited trim. Some other pros about the vehicle is how many standard amenities you get. QI wireless charging. You're going to have plenty of storage for the passenger. On the con, it's not a full pass-through, so you're not getting all the storage on the driver's side. It does lack. If you're going against Honda, for instance, a new Pilot, It's actually going to have more storage. You're going to have more cargo capacity. You're going to have about almost 4 cubic feet more than this, and this is longer than all of the competition. It will have more leg and head space than the new Mazda CX-90, and a bit more so than the Honda Pilot, and the Kia Telluride is going to be a lot more smaller. This will have more torque than the Kia Telluride. It's going to be less power than any of the variants, more or less, for the Mazda CX-90. Has more torque than the Honda Pilot. So there is some pros and cons, but in the same aspect, when you're giving us an extra length, I want it to be over 100 cubic feet of storage for cargo. Some other pros: in the limited trim, you get a full digital reader instead of that 7-inch TFT display. All of them get a standard 12.3 inch, so it's a larger screen than the Pilot. Just the center here could have been reworked to really utilize more space. But on the plus side, even though it's larger in the width and the height and the length, you can still move in and out of lanes relatively freely, similar to the Highlander, and the steering is going to be the same. With these wheels, it's a comfortable ride with the suspension setup that's standard on all trims. It's not overly tall, but it feels like that in the interior, which gives you that off-roadsy feel, even though it's not necessarily built for that. And it's a turbocharged, so you know what that means? You get some speed. The brakes, pretty decent. It's not as airtight as a Highlander. It does weigh a little bit more. I would say you're gonna add an extra 10 to 15 feet from 70 to 0. Turn radius is what we're checking right now, and I'm assuming it's gonna be about 2 in a part lane, and that's more or less what we're getting, and here we go. Everyday driving vehicles with third row, decent MPGs, and it's smooth. The sound deadening helps because we have an acoustic front windshield and side windows. I think they did an overall good job, and pricing is going to be a little bit less than the CX-90 Turbo trim, but when you get into the S Turbo, it's going to escalate a lot more so than this. Because it's the Turbo 4, even in the Highlander, the Turbo 4 is going to feel like it needs to kind of be pushed a little bit more so. This one feels a little bit heavier when you are pushing it though, but it still can move, which is great for a vehicle that's over 201 inches long. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like.